Today we're going to be replacing the starter on the 2006 to 2010 Volkswagen Jetta Golf and Rabbit with the 2.5 liter. So our first step is to disconnect our mass airflow sensor and just push in on this clip and pull that up. Next, you're going to want to disconnect this inlet pipe. Typically there's 2 screws on each side of this. Mine does not have that, but you take those 2 screws out and just pop this off. Take some pliers. We're going to remove this clamp. And we'll just slide it down here and pull this off the box. So now we can remove the engine cover. But you're going to grab the back of this cover and just lift up. It's held on by some rubber grommets. And grab this corner, lift it up, and same with this corner. Now you can remove this whole box. Disconnect our negative battery terminal. For most of you, you'll have a battery box around your battery with a cover. Just pop your cover off and that will expose your terminals. I'm gonna take our 10mm and just loosen this negative up. And we'll just set it over here to the side. So if we come down here, we can see this is our starter, and we're going to want to disconnect this clip. Typically, there's a red lock clip that you have to pull out first. And then once that is done, you can just push down on this tab right here. And now we can just push down on this tab and pull our connector straight back. If you guys need to pick up a starter, I will link a high quality starter in the description. Next, we want to pull this rubber boot back off the starter. And that will expose our power feed wire. To remove this nut, it's a 13mm. Before you remove that, make sure you didn't skip the step of disconnecting your battery, because if this wire touches anything metal, it will arc. And now we can just pull this wire off. So if we come down here, that nut right below the screwdriver, we're going to have to remove that and take that wire off, and that will get us to the stud that's holding the starter in. And this is a 13mm as well. And now with that wire gone, that exposes our 18mm, and that will remove the stud. Pull this long stud out. Next, you're gonna need to jack your car up. Make sure you use jack stands. As you can see, I have a tire with a rim on the back. Extra safety things, because I'm doing this on snow and ice. Just make sure you take all the safety precautions before you go underneath any vehicle. So when you crawl underneath your car, there will be a splash guard that's here. There's 8 T25 screws that you're gonna have to remove. 4 on this side, and then 4 on that side, and then it'll just pull straight back and you'll be able to drop it down. We'll crawl underneath our car and you'll come to this bracket, which has this nut. We're gonna have to remove that to take this bracket off, and then we'll be able to get to the second stud. Take our 13mm and remove that nut. And remove this bracket. Next, we'll grab our 18mm again and remove this stud. This is the last one that's holding the starter in, so once this is out, our starter will be able to be removed. And now you can just grab your starter and pull it right out. And just drop it down. Before we install our new starter, make sure we clean the mounting area, get all the grease off. And now we can grab our new starter. And put that into place. We'll take our first stud. And we'll just thread this in. Before we tighten this one up, we're going to want to install our upper stud as well. And the reason we want to put the top one in before we tighten the bottom one is just to make sure everything lines up, so we don't have any problems threading this one in. And now we can grab our torque wrench and torque these studs down to 55 foot-pounds. Next we can reinstall this bracket. And just snug this bracket down. So that completes everything for underneath the vehicle. This would be your time to reinstall your splash shield and just put your 8 T25 screws back in. Now we can reinstall this wire back onto this stud. And we'll just snug this up. Grab our power wire to the starter and screw that nut back on. And we'll snug this down. Take this rubber boot and put that back over that wiring. Next we can plug our connector back in. Just make sure you hear it clip into place. Give it a little tug, make sure it's not going to come undone. And if you still have that red lock tab, this is the time to push that back in. If you're wondering why that starter looks old and looks like the one I just took out, it's because it is. The reason I take my vehicles apart without needing them being fixed is to create content, and I enjoy helping you guys out. Now we can take our negative battery terminal and push that all the way down, and take our 10mm and just give this a little snug. Make sure your terminal doesn't move. Put our engine cover back on. Your rubber grommets line up with these 4 points. Push down. Now we can reinstall our intake tube. Plug your mass airflow sensor back in. And reinstall this part of your intake piping. And put your 2 screws back in. And that finishes up this video on how to replace your starter. If this video helped you out, if you could give it a like. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button.